First Contact and Deception. The vast observation deck of the Dominion flagship Eternal Glory offered Commander Zex Tull an unimpeded view of the stars. His scaled hands clasped behind his back, the Saurian commander's vertical pupils contracted as he focused on a distant point in space where sensors had detected an anomaly. The bridge around him hummed with the efficient movements of his crew, a mix of conquered species who had proven their worth to the Dominion. "Report," Zex Tull demanded, his voice carrying the distinctive click-hiss accent of the ruling Saurian elite. Science Officer Vren approached, her amphibian features arranged in what passed for excitement among her kind. "Commander, we've detected an artificial vessel at coordinates 37 to 4291. It appears to be primitive." Zex Tull's head crest rose slightly in amusement. "Define primitive." "The vessel utilizes chemical propulsion, exhibits exposed thermal signatures, and appears to be constructed of metallurgical alloys rather than quantum-bonded composites," Vrent replied, her webbed fingers dancing across the holographic display. "It's broadcasting radio waves, actual electromagnetic radiation, as a form of communication." A ripple of laughter spread across the bridge. Even the most junior officers knew that any spacefaring civilization worth acknowledging had advanced beyond such rudimentary technology millennia ago. "Interesting." Zex Tull's tongue flicked out, tasting the air, a vestigial habit from his species' evolutionary past that emerged during moments of intense curiosity. "Scan for weapons capabilities. Already complete, Commander. They appear to employ kinetic projectiles and primitive directed energy. Nothing that could penetrate our shields." Zex Tull's scaled lips pulled back in what humans would recognize as a predatory smile. A new species ripe for integration into the Dominion. How delightful. This sector has been dreadfully boring for the past 3 cycles. The Galactic Dominion had maintained unchallenged supremacy for over 12,000 years. Comprised initially of 3 technologically advanced species, the reptilian saurians, the crystalline Voth, and the gaseous meridians, the Dominion had expanded relentlessly, absorbing or subjugating hundreds of other civilizations. The saurians, with their natural predatory instincts and hierarchical social structure, had gradually assumed leadership positions throughout the vast empire. "Establish contact using standard protocols," Zex Tull ordered. "Let's see what manner of creatures we're dealing with." Communications Officer Tren, a slender, pale-skinned Proximan whose species had been among the first to be peacefully integrated into the Dominion, nodded respectfully. "Transmitting first contact package on all frequencies, Commander." The standard protocol was simple. Demonstrate overwhelming technological superiority. Offer the new species the opportunity to join the Dominion as servants, and swiftly crush any resistance with overwhelming force. It had worked flawlessly for thousands of years. "Commander," Tren said after a moment, surprise evident in his voice. "They're responding, in perfect Dominion standard." Zex Tull's crest raised fully now, a sign of alarm among his kind. "Impossible. They couldn't have decoded our language matrix so quickly." "Patching through to main display," Tren announced. The holographic screen flickered to life, revealing a human female. Her skin was a rich brown, her eyes dark and intelligent. She wore a simple gray uniform with no obvious rank insignia or decorations. "Greetings, Commander Zex Tull of the Saurian-led Galactic Dominion," she said, her pronunciation flawless. "I am Ambassador Maya Chen of Earth. We've been expecting you." The bridge fell silent. Even Zex Tull momentarily lost his composure before recovering. "You know who we are?" "Of course," Ambassador Chen replied with a slight smile. "We've been observing your border patrols for some time. Your predictable routes made it quite easy." Zex Tull's clawed hand tightened into a fist. "Impossible. Our stealth technology is impenetrable. Perhaps to the civilizations you typically encounter," Chen said. "But we humans have always excelled at detection and pattern recognition. It's a survival trait from our evolutionary past." The commander's tail twitched in agitation, a tell that his subordinates recognized as dangerous irritation. If you know who we are, then you understand the futility of resistance. The Dominion offers you the privilege of integration. Your species will serve as the newest members of our glorious empire. Chen's expression remained pleasant, even amused. That's very generous, Commander. However, we'd prefer to discuss trade agreements and mutual cooperation instead. Perhaps we could arrange a diplomatic meeting. Zek's tool exchanged glances with his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krex. This wasn't how first contacts typically proceeded. Usually there was fear, awe, or hopeless defiance, not this calm confidence. Very well, Zek's tool agreed, seeing an opportunity to gather intelligence. We will send a delegation to your vessel. Actually, Chen countered smoothly, I'd be happy to come aboard your magnificent ship. I've been quite curious about Saurian architecture. Before Zek's toll could respond, a junior officer approached with a datapad. Commander, deep scans indicate their vessel has no significant defensive capabilities. Their hull would buckle under our standard weapons at minimal power. Zek's toll nodded, his confidence restored. These humans were either suicidally brave or catastrophically ignorant of their situation. Either way, they would soon learn their place. We would be honored to host you, Ambassador Chen, he said, the false graciousness dripping from his words like venom. Prepare for transport. Within the hour, Maya Chen stood in the opulent reception chamber of the Eternal Glory. She appeared completely at ease despite being surrounded by towering Saurian guards whose ancestral instincts still whispered that mammals were prey. Your ship is impressive, Chen remarked, seemingly oblivious to the predatory gazes fixed upon her. Though I notice you still use quantum field generators rather than the more efficient gravitational displacement technology. Zek's Tull's eyes narrowed. You speak of technologies beyond even our capabilities. Do I? Chen replied innocently. Perhaps I misspoke. My technical vocabulary in your language may be imprecise. The commander circled her slowly. For a species using chemical propulsion and radio waves, you seem remarkably knowledgeable about advanced physics. Chen smiled. Appearances can be deceiving, Commander. But I'm here to discuss peaceful relations between our civilizations. Over the next several hours, Chen engaged in diplomatic pleasantries while evading direct questions about Earth's defenses and population centers. Zek's Tull grew increasingly frustrated but maintained the pretense of diplomatic courtesy. Meanwhile, every moment Shen spent aboard the Dominion flagship, passive scanners woven into the fabric of her clothing collected invaluable data on Saurian technology, crew composition, and defensive capabilities. When she finally returned to the human vessel, Zek's Tull turned to his science officer. Analysis. Their technology is indeed primitive, Commander, Vren confirmed. However, their understanding of advanced theoretical concepts is puzzling. It suggests they may have had contact with other spacefaring civilizations. Or they've salvaged technology they don't fully understand, Krex suggested. It wouldn't be the first time we've encountered scavengers. Zek's Tull nodded thoughtfully. Continue monitoring their vessel. Prepare a full invasion assessment of their home world. He paused, his predatory instincts tingling. Something isn't right about these humans. Back aboard the Earth vessel Curiosity, Ambassador Chen transferred the collected data to a secure system. Transmission complete, she reported to a hidden communication panel. They're exactly as arrogant as our long-range observations suggested. Well done, Ambassador, came the reply from Earth Defense Command. Did they suspect anything? They're suspicious, but for the wrong reasons, Chen answered. They think we might be scavengers who found advanced technology we don't understand. Perfect. Admiral Reyes says to proceed with Phase 2. For the next 3 days, negotiations continued via holographic communication. The humans appeared increasingly conciliatory, even submitting what seemed to be complete schematics of their defensive systems, primitive orbital platforms, ground-based missile installations, and a small fleet of vessels similar to the Curiosity. In the command center of the Eternal Glory, Zek's Tull reviewed the intelligence with growing confidence. Their planet is practically defenseless. he announced to his war council. They possess no technology that poses any threat to even our smallest vessels. It seems odd they would reveal their vulnerabilities so readily, Sub-Commander Krex observed. They're attempting to appear cooperative while bargaining for better terms, Zex Toll dismissed. A typical strategy among lesser species. They don't yet understand that the Dominion doesn't negotiate. We dictate. The command center's holographic display showed the solar system the humans called home. One yellow star, 8 planets, with the third being their world, Earth. Intelligence suggested a population of approximately 8 billion, concentrated in urban centers that would make perfect targets for initial strikes and subsequent psychological domination. As the Dominion vessels prepared for light-speed travel toward Earth, Ambassador Chen's final transmission arrived. Commander Zex Toll, I regret that our negotiations have failed. Nevertheless, we look forward to welcoming you to Earth. The Saurian commander found her choice of words curious, but dismissed it as a translation error. What Zex Toll couldn't know was that humanity had discovered the Dominion's existence nearly 50 years earlier. A deep space probe had detected the energy signatures of their vessels passing through a neighboring system. Rather than announcing themselves immediately, humans had made the collective decision to observe, learn, and prepare. The chemical engines and radio transmissions on the Curiosity were elaborate props, technological Potemkin villages designed to create a precise impression of vulnerability. The real Earth defense fleet waited in strategic positions throughout the solar system, using technology that had evolved along entirely different paths than the Dominion's standardized systems. As the invasion force entered the Sol system, automated beacons transmitted a simple message to Earth. Operation Trojan Horse complete. Dominion forces incoming. Miles below the surface of Mars, in a command center carved from the planet's bedrock, Fleet Admiral Sophia Reyes reviewed the incoming data and allowed herself a small smile. Let's show the Dominion how humanity deals with would-be conquerors, she said to her assembled command staff. Activate the Aegis network. Throughout the solar system, previously dormant defense platforms hummed to life, preparing to give the Dominion a reception they never anticipated. The turn of the tide. The Dominion invasion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, a formation of 17 warships with the eternal glory at its center. Commander Zex Toll stood on his bridge, vertical pupils dilating with anticipation of an easy conquest. Maintain combat readiness, but advance at standard speed, he ordered. There's no need for stealth or haste against such primitive defenses. The Saurian commander had personally overseen the battle plan. First, they would neutralize Earth's paltry orbital defenses. Next, they would target major population centers with precision strikes, not to destroy them entirely, but to demonstrate the futility of resistance. Lastly, they would accept the inevitable surrender and begin the process of integrating humanity into the Dominion hierarchy. It would be, Zex Toll thought with satisfaction, a textbook subjugation. Commander, Tactical Officer Drex interrupted his thoughts. I'm detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the system. Explain, Zex Toll demanded, his crest rising slightly. Unknown, sir. They don't match the defensive systems detailed in the human schematics. Before Zex Toll could respond, Science Officer Vren called out, Commander, massive energy spike from the 4th planet. The main viewer showed Mars, a rust-red planet that, according to their intelligence, housed only small research outposts. But now, the seemingly barren world pulsed with energy as hidden installations emerged from beneath its surface. Impossible, Zex Toll whispered. Our scans showed no significant technology there. Sir, Communications Officer Tren's voice shook slightly. We're receiving a transmission from Mars. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a human female with dark skin, silver-streaked black hair, and the confident bearing of a seasoned commander. Unlike Ambassador Chen's simple attire, this human wore a uniform adorned with insignia of rank and accomplishment. Commander Zex Toll, she said, her tone professional and devoid of fear. "I am Fleet Admiral Sophia Reyes of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human territory with hostile intent. I suggest you reconsider." Zextol recovered quickly from his surprise. "Admiral Reyes," he replied with forced calm, "your deception was clever, but ultimately futile. Your Ambassador Chen revealed everything we need to know about your defenses." Reyes smiled. "Did she? How interesting." At that moment, Tactical Officer Drex shouted, "Multiple objects accelerating from Earth's moon. Energy signatures. Commander, they're warships. Dozens of them." The main viewer shifted to show a fleet of vessels emerging from concealed bases on the lunar surface. Unlike the deliberately primitive Curiosity, these ships were sleek, advanced, and unmistakably built for war. "Targeting systems online," Drex reported, his scaled fingers working frantically across his console. "But Commander, I can't get a lock. Their hulls are absorbing our targeting frequencies." Zextol's tail lashed in agitation. "Impossible. Switch to visual targeting." "Sir," Science Officer Vren interrupted, "I'm detecting additional energy signatures from the asteroid belt and several of the gas giant moons. It appears the entire system is fortified." Admiral Reyes continued as if they were having a casual conversation. "You see, Commander, we've been watching the Dominion for nearly 50 years. Your conquest patterns, your technology, your tactics, all carefully studied and countered." 50 years. Zextol's shock momentarily overrode his anger. "That's not possible. We only detected your transmissions recently." "Precisely." Reyes nodded. "The transmissions we wanted you to detect. The rest were carefully masked using technologies specifically designed to circumvent Dominion scanning methods." The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. The human fleet was now forming a precise formation, surrounding the Dominion vessels in a three-dimensional net. "Offensive posture," Zextol ordered. "Target their largest vessels and fire." The Dominion warships discharged their primary weapons, streams of superheated plasma that could melt through most known alloys in seconds. But instead of the expected devastation, the human vessels seemed to ripple as the plasma washed over them, the energy somehow redirected and dispersed. "No effect," Drex reported, disbelief evident in his voice. "Their shields are absorbing our weapons fire." Admiral Rice's expression remained measured. "Commander, you're using standard Dominion plasma cannons. We developed countermeasures for those 43 years ago. Perhaps you'd like to surrender now and avoid unnecessary casualties." Pride and generations of unchallenged supremacy made surrender unthinkable to Zextol. "All vessels, engage with secondary weapons, launch fighter squadrons." The space between the fleets erupted with energy as the Dominion unleashed its full arsenal. Smaller attack craft poured from the larger warships, their pilots the elite of the Dominion military. For a moment, it seemed the overwhelming force might make a difference. But then the human vessels began to move in patterns that defied conventional space combat tactics. Where Dominion doctrine relied on power and coordination, the humans employed unpredictability and adaptation. "They're not fighting according to any known battlefield protocol," Sub-Commander Krex observed, his natural tactical mind recognizing the danger before others. "Each of their ships is operating independently rather than as a coordinated unit." It was true. While the Dominion fleet moved with the precision of a single organism, the human vessels darted in seemingly random patterns, yet somehow avoided colliding with each other or friendly fire. "Sir," Drex reported, his voice now tinged with fear, 3 of our escort vessels have been disabled. Their engines and weapons are offline." "How?" Zextol demanded. "Unknown, Commander. There's no visible weapons fire or energy signatures. They just stopped functioning." On the view screen, Admiral Reyes remained calm. "Targeted electromagnetic pulse technology," she explained, as if conducting a routine briefing. "Harmless to organic life, but quite effective against Dominion computer systems." Another advantage of studying your technology for decades before revealing ourselves. The truth crashed down upon Zek's toll like a physical blow. The humans had never been primitive. The curiosity had been bait, deliberately designed to appear vulnerable while gathering final intelligence. Ambassador Chen's negotiations had never been about peace. They were about providing time for the human fleet to move into position. Humans had observed the Dominion, learned its weaknesses, and prepared a response specifically tailored to counter everything the Dominion could throw at them. "Retreat," Zek's toll ordered, his voice hollow. "All vessels, emergency faster-than-light jump to Rally Point Omega." "Sir," Drex responded, panic now evident, faster-than-light drives are not responding. They've been remotely locked down. Zek's toll turned to the view screen, meeting Admiral Rice's steady gaze. "What do you want?" he asked, the question of a predator suddenly finding itself prey. "First, the complete withdrawal of all Dominion forces from this system," Rice replied without hesitation. "Second, recognition of Earth and the entire Sol system as sovereign territory, off-limits to Dominion expansion. Third, an exchange of diplomatic representatives, real ones this time, to establish peaceful relations. And if I refuse?" Rice's expression hardened slightly. "Then we demonstrate exactly how thoroughly we've prepared for this encounter. I assure you, Commander, we've developed countermeasures for every weapon in your arsenal." To illustrate her point, several small devices detached from the human vessels and moved toward the Dominion fleet. Upon reaching a certain distance, they emitted pulses of energy that caused the Dominion shields to flicker and fail. "Shield disruptors," Rice explained, "tuned specifically to the frequency of Dominion defensive fields. We have similar technologies designed for every system on your ships." Sub-Commander Krex leaned close to Zextal. "Commander, we cannot win this engagement. The humans have clearly been preparing for this specific confrontation for decades." Pride warred with pragmatism in Zexival's mind. The Dominion had never retreated, never surrendered, never acknowledged any species as equals in 12,000 years of expansion. But they had never encountered a species like humanity before. "Very well, Admiral," he finally said. "We will withdraw." Reyes nodded. "A wise decision, Commander. You may keep your weapons and defensive systems online during your departure, as a courtesy between equals. I'll have coordinates for a diplomatic rendezvous transmitted to your vessel." As the Dominion fleet limped away from Earth, Zex Toll remained on the bridge of the eternal glory, his thoughts churning. "How?" he asked no one in particular. "How did we miss this?" Science Officer Vren, always analytical, offered her assessment. "They evolved differently than any species we encountered, Commander. While the Dominion rose through conquest and technological standardization, humans appear to have developed through adaptation and technological diversification. We assumed that all advanced civilizations would follow the same development path as our own," Krex added. "It was a failure of imagination." Zex Tool nodded slowly. For the first time in his long career, he had encountered a problem that couldn't be solved through superior firepower or intimidation. This would shake the very foundations of the Dominion. A power that had defined itself by conquest, now faced with a civilization it could not conquer. In the following months, the diplomatic exchange between Earth and the Dominion revealed even more surprises. Humans had not only prepared defenses against Dominion technology, but had developed along entirely different technological paths, creating solutions the Dominion had never considered. Where Dominion science was hierarchical and standardized, human innovation was chaotic and diversified. Their technology incorporated ideas from thousands of different cultures, perspectives, and scientific traditions. They had none of the Dominion's rigid adherence to established technological doctrine. 1 year after the failed invasion, Commander Zextol, now Ambassador Zextol, returned to Earth for a formal diplomatic function. He found himself standing beside Admiral Reyes, watching a demonstration of new human Dominion collaborative technology. "Your species continues to surprise me, Admiral," he admitted. In the Dominion, we believed our path of development was the only logical one for an advanced civilization. Reyes smiled. That's the thing about humans, Ambassador. We never assume there's only one way to solve a problem. Our greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our adaptability. Zextol's gaze moved to the stars visible through the vast windows of the Earth space station. The Dominion Council is still struggling to accept that there are now boundaries to our expansion. Some talk of building new weapons, finding ways to counter your defenses. They're welcome to try, Reyes replied, her tone friendly but firm. But I suspect they'll find it more rewarding to explore cooperation instead. The galaxy is vast enough for both our civilizations. Zextol nodded slowly. The universe had suddenly become a much more complex place for the Dominion. But perhaps, he reflected, that complexity would ultimately lead to growth rather than stagnation. Humanity had not only stopped the unstoppable force of Dominion expansion, they had changed its course entirely. And in doing so, they may have saved the Dominion from the inevitable decline that comes with unchallenged supremacy. As the diplomatic reception continued around them, Zextol made a mental note to recommend against any future attempts to conquer Earth. The humans, he would explain to the Council, were far more valuable as allies than as subjects. Besides, he thought with newfound respect, they would make terrible servants but fascinating equals.